Update. My ex has a restraining order against me and now lives in the same apartment complex. Original post. My ex-wife and I had a rocky marriage. My alcoholism didn't help, and she pushed for divorce. We lived together during this divorce, and one day I found out she was dating another man. I snapped and hit her pretty hard. I was charged with a crime, spent 3 months in jail, went to anger management, and I was also issued a 3-year restraining order. This was 2 years ago. I have since sobered up, met a wonderful woman, and moved to a completely different apartment complex in a completely different part of the city. I never had any further contact with my ex-wife. I admit what I did was wrong. I paid a price. I've since re-established myself. My current woman, who I've been in a relationship with for 2 years, is aware of this background story, which makes things slightly easier. Well, unknown to me, my ex moved into my apartment complex about 5 months ago with her now new husband, who had always lived here, but I did not know this. I saw her in the lobby just before New Year's. She greeted me, I turned shocked and said hello. She asked me what I was doing in the lobby and I said I was just coming in from work. She told me that the restraining order is still in effect and that I need to move out. I tried to reason with her and told her I'd be happy to steer clear of her. I know we don't live on the same floor. I don't even know what floor she lives on. I don't care to know. I told her if I saw her on the elevator, I wouldn't get in and just wait for the next one. But she told me she was going to enforce the restraining order against me. My partner and I literally just signed a brand new 2-year lease 6 months ago. We love the place we live in and wouldn't want to move. And it feels unjust having to move / incur financial hardship because the person I had a restraining order against moved into my apartment complex. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because last night the building management was informed of the restraining order and told us we need to figure this out. Would she really be able to force me out of my home even though I lived here before her? As long as I do my best to avoid any contact with her, which I'm perfectly fine doing, shouldn't that be sufficient? I work a really early schedule, and the fact she was dating this guy and coming over to this apartment complex for the entire time I've been here, and we ran crossed paths, and she's been living here full-time for 5 months and just recently crossed paths. Not sure what to do. FYI, this is New York City. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I'm not a criminal law attorney, but you have some good factors in your favor. You have abided by the order of protection for a long time, 2 years, without incident. You have sobered up and been through counseling. Judges want to hear that stuff. But the best practical advice I can give you is that you should take the lead here. Get an attorney and get yourself back in front of the judge. Tell the judge your story first. If you wait and she drags you into court, you may be viewed with suspicion. Because as others have noted, you're technically in violation of the protection order right now. An attorney in your area will undoubtedly know more about what to ask for. But if you take the lead, the judge will probably be more sympathetic to your cause. Ask for the time of the order to be shortened, out of existence, or that the parameters be redefined so that you can live in the same complex, but that you agree to not have purposeful contact with her. Bottom line, get out in front of this. The first thing you should do is look up your order of protection. Look up the copy you were provided or have the building forward you the copy that she provided them. Do not contact her. If you cannot get a copy, you may need to see if you can see the order by looking at the court copy from the issuing county/court. You should contact your attorney who represented you on the matter involving the restraining order to have the order modified for incidental contact at your home address. In your case, it should be your defense attorney or defense agency who represented you on the criminal matter who can/should help you. Tell them what you've stated on this thread and see what they can do about modification. A 3-year order of protection is odd in New York City/New York State. The typical criminal order of protection is either 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, or 8 years, although these orders can be modified by family court sometimes, and DV charges may change the timeline. Family court may also have issued some kind of order of protection independent from the criminal matter order of protection. The distinction is important because you want to make sure which order of protection is still in effect and where to ask for a modification. Now, if you do everything that I mentioned and your attorney tells you that modification is unlikely or impossible, I think that your lease with the building should be broken. Since she's moved into the building, you can't be there without breaking the law, and I don't think that they should penalize you. However, that's probably the next third best scenario for you. Just remember while you're figuring this out, do not contact her. Do not contact her through a third party. If she tries to contact you, do not contact her back. At the time, I had a public defender. My girlfriend has a friend that's a criminal defense attorney, and I'm going to reach out to them. When it came to the restraining order, I didn't put up any resistance. I basically said, yeah, sure, I'll stay away from her. And I meant it too. I have not tried to contact her in any way, shape, or form. And now for the update. The public defender that represented me was no longer practicing in the New York City area, but I retained a lawyer who was a friend of a friend who had experience in this area. My lawyer got references from my protective order, employer, and AA sponsor. Our goal was to get the restraining order modified to a simple no-contact order with no distance requirements, so I could continue living with my partner. I spoke to the judge, told him my story, what I had done to correct my past transgressions. He reviewed my record. We submitted our references. During this time period, I was crashing on a friend's couch as to not violate my protective order. PO said I had paid my fines, followed all the rules, but never once had to remind me of my restrictions and so forth, and said he was impressed with my turnaround. My employer said that I was always early, never seemed to be under the influence or hangover from anything, and even at our company functions was very open and honest about my sobriety and didn't partake in drinking. My AA sponsor said good things about me too. How he was impressed with my maturity and openness in my alcoholism and addiction. Then the judge asked my ex-wife to speak. My ex-wife said she was shocked by my turnaround. She said that it seemed unfair to her to require me to move because she moved into my building unknowingly, and that she no longer felt threatened by me. This was a shock to both my lawyer and I, as I expected my ex to want to keep the protective order in place. The judge said that he wouldn't modify the protective order but lift it entirely, as he felt it had served its purpose and that based upon my references, my testimony, and most importantly the testimony of my ex, that he didn't see how keeping its place was benefiting anymore. He did tell my ex that if she ever felt threatened or in danger because of something I said or did, she could contact the police. The judge then told me his main reason for lifting the order was to allow me to live in my current apartment, but advised it was a good idea to avoid contact with my ex to avoid any potential complications down the road. He reminded me because of my past, it wouldn't take much to get another protective order put in place. I told the judge I had no intention of contacting/talking to my ex, and I was thrilled that I don't have to move and get to stay with my current girlfriend. So over the course of this weekend, I moved back into my apartment with my girlfriend. I'm glad this was resolved. Now for the last story. Update. I, 24 female, got into an argument with my boyfriend, 25 male, over sharing a bed with my mother or sister. Original post. For some context, my mom, me, and my sister are very close. She raised us by herself, so it has always been just us. She's married now to our wonderful stepdad, who I'm also close to, and I spend time with my family whenever I can. After my mom finished her master's a few years ago and got settled into her career, she has made a point to have a girls' weekend once a month, or at least spend a day together. This often entails a small road trip to a nearby town, a theme park if it's during the summer, or during quarantine we just video chat for a few hours and drink wine. Whatever it is we do, my mom foots the whole bill. She says it's her way to make up for not being able to afford much when we were growing up. Our significant others are always welcome to join, but in the past they haven't usually. My stepdad and my sister's fiancé actually get along great, and they have gone fishing during these weekends before. Overall, I love my family dynamic and have no plans on changing it. Now onto the issue. I met my boyfriend about a year ago. We have always gotten along great, and my family loves him. He has joined us on these trips once or twice and seemed to have a good time. Last weekend was a girls' weekend, and we were planning to go to a city about an hour away. We planned on leaving Friday and returning Sunday night. Boyfriend was invited but declined as he had plans. I thought that was the end of it. About an hour before I headed out, I mentioned how the Airbnb we rented only had one bed. So I was probably going to end up sharing that with my mom or sister, or I was going to sleep on the couch. He seemed very weirded out by that. He said something like, "You don't feel awkward sharing a bed with your mom? How can you not see how weird that is? I would never share a bed with my mom or a sibling. Blah, blah, blah." I told him he was being weird and gross, and that they were family. He then mentioned how I often sleep naked, which is not even a decent argument because obviously I'm not gonna sleep naked with my freaking mother or sister. I told him it wouldn't be the first time we have shared a bed, and that he needed to drop it. This resulted in an actual screaming match that went out for like 20 minutes. He doesn't live with me, so I told him to get out and give me his key before I left, which he was reluctant to do. He then told me to just sleep on the couch and none of this would be an issue, which I told him there was no issue, and that it was being weird. I asked him multiple times by sharing a bed with my mother or sister was even a problem, but he wouldn't give me a straight answer. I left. I didn't answer a single one of his many calls or messages over the weekend. I got back Sunday night, but I've only spoken to him once. He is still demanding I apologize and reiterating how wrong the situation was. Is there something I'm not seeing here? Is it actually that weird to share a bed with your own family? Right now, our relationship is in limbo, and I'm thinking of ending it. But I have had a few friends now tell me they can understand where he's coming from, and that I should just apologize and move on because our relationship is great otherwise. Any advice? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. I had an ex that flipped out when I helped my sister, a single mother, bathe her kids when she has the flu. Lost his mind and said it's so gross to see kids naked. And he couldn't believe my sister even looked at her son, an actual baby, naked. Him being weirded out weirded me out. Because at best, his attachments to family are cold and weird. And at worst, because of his own conditioning, he was sexualizing a non-sexual situation. It's gross and indicative of an immaturity you've long since outgrown at 24. I would love to know what he found horrifying about a mother seeing her infant naked. Does he think babies change their own diapers? The heck? How about daycare? Am I a pedo because I've had to change poopy diapers? The man was deranged. He was also a little over 10 years older than me, which made sense because women his age sniffed out how much of a weirdo he was. That red flag made me run. Like, whatever his upbringing was, I can't imagine reacting to something different with horror and rage, and not just like, oh, that wasn't my experience, but tell me about it. How absolutely ridiculous. Have you met his parents? Don't even engage in a conversation regarding this. Tell him he will never dictate to you what you're supposed to feel, and most certainly not to try to make you change how you communicate with your family. This sounds like a red flag though. I've met his family many times. He has a good relationship with both parents and his elder sister. That's what to me makes his reaction so outlandish. It seems so unlikely that he's never shared a bed with a family member, at least when he was younger. But the way he was acting though, you'd think he had never heard of such a thing. I keep thinking about messaging him back or blocking him altogether, but I really want to know what caused him to go so nuclear. It absolutely is a red flag though. It just sucks because I do love him. Small update. When all this happened, I didn't tell my mom/sister because I didn't want to ruin their weekend. Now that people are pointing out that maybe the dude has an incest kink or was mistreated, and I'm freaking out and crying. I called my mom and told her what happened. She's a bit mortified but was able to calm me down. I was going to call him and ask him to come over so we could talk, but my mom and stepdad do not want me alone with him. So I just messaged him and asked him to call me. I hope it's neither of those things, but logically, what else could cause this kind of reaction? I'll update again if anything happens. Now for the full update. The first post is locked now, but I did want to leave an update for anyone who was curious. Everything is still a mess basically. We talked after he got off work the other night. He started a conversation by asking how the trip went, and he did actually apologize. Or rather, he basically said, I'm sorry for my reaction and how it escalated, but not how I feel about the situation. I again asked him to explain just how sharing a bed with my mom or sister was inherently wrong, and if he felt that way maybe because of how he was raised to view sharing a bed. He just kinda doubled down and said no. It was just weird and he could never share a bed with his mom, and cannot understand how I was comfortable with doing it myself. I forgot to mention this in my first post, but I actually did end up sleeping on the couch. When I told him this, he said that had I just said that, none of this mess would have happened, and was pretty much implying that this issue continuing was my fault. I was getting pissed at this point, and said basically that sharing a bed was not inherently sexual or intimate, and that him thinking so at all was weird as heck. I point blank asked him if he genuinely thinks something would happen between me and my own mother or sister, and at this point he began to backtrack. He said that was not what he said, and that I was twisting his words, when I absolutely was not. He told me I was disgusting for implying that. We went back and forth on this, until he was like, fine, okay. Maybe I was out of line, but I still think it's inappropriate. But I guess I will just get over it. Can we please just move past this? I told him I had a lot to think about, and that I needed space. After we hung up, I immediately went to bed and tried not to think about it much today. His sister ended up calling me when I got home from work today. We've become really friendly since I started dating my boyfriend, so usually I wouldn't think anything of this. But I pretty much knew it was going to be about the bed situation. Sure enough, it was. He had asked her for advice on how to fix the situation and tried to explain his perspective to it. She said that she told him he was being a dumbass, and very, very weird about the situation. She wanted to know if I was okay, and asked if he had apologized yet. I asked her if they had ever shared beds on family vacations, and she said of course. She's quite a bit older than him. She's in her early 40s and a mom herself, and she helped her parents a lot with him when he was young. She said his behavior right now was weird and gross and totally out of character. She apologized for being nosy, but I thanked her for checking in on me. I didn't tell her about the post, but I did get the courage to ask her if he had maybe suffered from some sort of mistreatment that she knew of. She assured me that she didn't think that was likely, but that she couldn't speak for him. She told me that we needed to talk this out in person and either resolve it or break up, but either way I have her support. I'm really, really going to miss her. Very cool lady. And now I'm here. I don't know if she told him about our conversation, but he agreed to meet with me tomorrow morning. I haven't talked to my family about this because I'm sure they would think it was a bad idea to meet in person with him right now. Regardless of what he is willing to tell me, I am done. This is too much, and I don't know if any explanation is going to be enough to fix this. Thanks for all the advice yesterday, and I'll post a small update after tomorrow if anything does happen. Please meet in a public place just to be on the safe side. I don't know why he keeps doubling down. That's what is so weird. It'll be a coffee shop, not to worry. I think he's doubling down like this because he either realizes he's wrong and doesn't want to admit it, so he's content with arguing, or there's something like a kink or trauma making him react like this. I'm not going to be surprised if he still doesn't back down when we talk tomorrow. But regardless, I'm bringing him the few things he left at my house and breaking up with him officially.